On 14th of February 2023, there was an IT survey on British Broadcasting Corporation. BBC, there was a survey. Some thought it was a raid. The IT is clarified and said, no, it is not a raid, it is a survey, so on and so forth. There was a survey. Now, interestingly, after the survey, there was a nationwide debate. Lot of people said, "Arey kya hai ye?" They released a documentary titled "India: The Modi Story," and right after that, the documentary was banned. The government was very angry, and they were raided. So a lot of journalists, lot of intelligentsia in India, a lot of people say that, listen, can't you read it? I mean, can't you see it? It's obviously a revenge raid. The government says, what revenge raid? The government says, we have been sending them letters, there has been problems, there have been anomalies regarding their transfer pricing documents, regarding their functions, assets and risks. All this, there were anomalies which we had, discrepancies which we had spoken to them, which we had sent notices to them, and we read it. This was part of a process. That has got nothing to do with the documentary. This is what the government says. Okay. What we are going to discuss today in our new program called The Dialogue, today is my second episode. What we are going to discuss today is, was this part of the process? Was this anyway coming? Or was this an action that was supposed to be a revenge because of what BBC had done because of the documentary? Now, I have two very eminent guests with me. I have Kumar Ketkar, senior journalist, Rajya Sabha MP, and a legend as far as Indian journalism is concerned. He's a pillar, he's a legend. So I have him on my program today. And I have Anand Vardhan Singh, again a senior journalist, former editor of Lokmat Hindi, and current editor, managing editor of The Public. So I have two very eminent guests, two very senior journalists. Let's talk to them, find out what exactly happened. Why do they think what they think? Why do some people say that this raid was a revenge raid? Why do some people say that no, it is not a revenge raid? So on and so forth. Let's discuss all this threadbare. Let's get right into the show called Dialogue. Thank you so much for joining me on my show. Thank you so much for joining me on my show. After a real long time, and what a privilege, sir, to have you. Sir, I'll start with you, with Singh Saab's permission. I will start with you. Sir, 14th of February, BBC was raided. Now, the government says that, it happened because there were anomalies in their account book. There were discrepancies in their account books.
When I heard first about the raids on BBC, my first reaction was to laugh loudly. Because either those who organized and ordered the raid are complete fools out of their mind, or they have a very sinister conspiratorial aim. So both were rather conflicting perceptions, but I thought basically they were foolish because either they did not understand what is BBC and what is their role. Anywhere in India, if you go, even among the relatively uneducated people, you will find BBC having more credibility. The credibility of BBC is higher in not only in India but elsewhere also. Whether it deserves or not is a different thing that we are not discussing here. But on 14th February when they raided, my first reaction was to laugh out loudly and also think of conspiratorial and sinister possibilities. Why I laughed loudly? Because I know BBC, I have appeared on BBC several times, here as well as in London, and then I wondered what is the purpose of raiding BBC? Because either they don't know the structure of the BBC, how BBC actually operates, who conducts the BBC, how autonomous BBC is within. They may have their shortcomings, and they may have their biases, but as a house of BBC, they are far more open, far more liberal than perhaps any other channel in the world. It is now 100th year of BBC. And for 100 years, they have evolved and evolved first during the First World War, then Second World War, then Cold War, and despite the Cold War, Soviet Union and US, quite often they irritated the US and also they irritated Soviet Union by their coverage. So I can see that among the channels and generally in the media, I don't see any other channel as relatively objective as BBC. No channel, no human being, and no journalist is 10% objective. That I know because I'm in the profession for 50 years. But given the frame, I think BBC is most trustable, most trustworthy channel in the world, perhaps today. Certainly more than, without being offensive to CNN, it is much more serious, it is much more trustworthy than even CNN.
I'll go to Mr. Singh. Mr. Singh, what is your opinion on this?
Sujit, my opinion on this, I have four different dimensions to look at it. Number one is, as far as the law of the land is concerned, there is no doubt about it that BBC is most credible, as Mr. Ketkar said, and we must also understand the largest broadcasting corporation in the world. They have about 23,000 workers, same as what Mr. Adani has. Mr. Adani, with the second position in the world, also has about 23,000 workers in their under the company. Now, the first is, if the law of the land is broken, the Indian government was perfectly within their rights to, which they call it survey, but which for all practical purposes is a raid, to go to their office, check for all these things. Now, the second part is, there is absolutely clear that what triggered this raid or survey. The trigger point was BBC documentary. There is absolutely no doubt about it. Even if the government says that it has nothing to do with BBC documentary, but it was. I mean, anyone can see that what is going to happen. The third is what I feel is that when the government says that there is a large international conspiracy going on against the country and against Mr. Modi in particular, and then they have series of things happening, Hindenburg report, BBC report, then Guardian coming out with something, George Soros coming out with something. There is a pattern. Now, I contributed also to on this, that there is a problem with our Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Now, it will look childish to someone who will say, why Ministry of Foreign Affairs? All these are the part of the Foreign Affairs Ministry, that how we have our diplomatic relations and our other public relations with the other country. In my opinion, in many shows before this, at many places I have said, I'm using a word, we might have a competent foreign minister, but we are having a foreign minister currently who has zero political weight. In past, India has always a foreign minister. Most of the prime minister served as foreign minister at some point of time, barring Mr. Devegowda. But otherwise also, we have one of the most heavyweight foreign ministers. Last time, Sushma Swaraj was there, the foreign minister in 2014-19 regime of Mr. Modi, and she was a heavyweight. Now, having said that, the fourth dimension is, there is a messaging to media in general, and a media in particular, and public in general, that look, this is going to happen if someone is coming out with some documentary or something like that, which is not comfortable, which the government is not comfortable. Why I'm telling you this is because they are independent, they are the most credible, but the fact remains, the Indian BBC, most of them are pro-government, are pro-BJP. You tell me, other than this BBC documentary, how many reports you have seen which ask questions from the government? Tell me, other than this BBC documentary. And this BBC documentary, somehow I feel, why they are so perturbed is because it is questioning Mr. Modi. Had it been they were questioning some Mr. Gadkari or Rajnath Singh or some different things, they were very comfortable. But since it is questioning Mr. Modi, that is the pain which is coming out in form of a raid or a survey. That is my first take.
I want to put this question to Ketkar sir. Sir, like Singh Saab said, BBC, then before that Hindenburg, then before that Guardian. one after another, there has been a lot of onslaught on India and Indian politicians. So, is this a strategy? Is there a conspiracy? Is there error in foreign affairs? That way we handle our foreign affairs, like Mr. Singh said. What's your opinion, sir?
I think it is absurd to say that there is a concerted attack or concerted conspiracy because BBC has virtually no connection with Hindenburg. Hindenburg has virtually no connection with Guardian and certainly not with Oxfam. No, Oxfam, Hindenburg, BBC all coming together is a kind of coincidence, unfortunately for Modi and BJP, just 1 year before the election and just on the eve of G20. And perhaps I think you all of us know that Modi thrived primarily on his international image. Modi's biggest asset or Modi's biggest effort is to constantly come on the international media and pretend that he is a world leader, he is a Vishwaguru. Now, all these four things from Oxfam to BBC to Hindenburg to Guardian actually ruptured that entire campaign of image building, image maintaining exercise, which he has been doing ever since 2012. Though he came to power in 2014, his image building management is there from 2012. Now, this is the first time, and that too almost simultaneously. The attack on his image happened, and that too on the eve of G20 and on the eve of elections. That has hurt him more. And I agree with Singh entirely that if it was against Ketkar or Rajnath Singh, or even against generally without naming anybody, against BJP, he would not mind. But moreover, and that is no less important, is that attack on Modi is not just question of attack on Modi. It is also a question of Gujarat reference. Now, Gujarat is considered to be the biggest blot on Modi because even Vajpayee wanted him to resign. It was because of Advani and Arun Jaitley survived. And all the people in India know how he treated Arun Jaitley and Advani, particularly Advani, why he threw him out virtually and took power command and he did not even respect him. So people know all this, that Gujarat has multiple follow-ups within the party, outside the party, within NDA and in the government. So I think Gujarat really hurt him because he is seen not only as a chief minister at that time, he is seen as a villain of the piece. And the villainous face of Modi going all over the world, getting viral all over the world, hurt his image immensely. And he thought his image being the biggest asset of his politics, if that gets hurt, it can cost him election. Whether it costs him or not is a different thing. But he feels that every single, because I don't know whether you know, because you are a media person, you will be knowing, every single aspect of his large meetings, every single aspect of his so-called interviews, he manages every millimeter of it. He manages everything, the questions, the dress. See, all his functions, I think he must have by now collected some 1 million dresses to address so many places, so many different occasions, whether it's in Nagaland, whether it's in Siachen, whether it's in Kanyakumari temple, whether it's in Dehu temple of Pune. He continuously monitors his dress and its perception. And therefore, image is his biggest asset. Like Citizen Kane film, where Orson Welles shows how the image building matters and how image matters, I think he has shown that image can actually bring you power. And now that image was ruptured by these four things, and that's why he is worried, and that's why he wanted to tell BBC that we can raid you also, even if you are not actually directly part of the conspiracy. More important, other than that, is he knows that BBC is more credible because he himself said in 2014 that don't watch Indian television channels, watch only BBC. That is on public record. That is there available on YouTube. His speech that BBC is the most credible media. So therefore, I think his image getting ruptured is important and nothing else.
Sir, this is a dichotomy. Singh Saab, I'll put the question first to you and then, sir, I'll come back to you, Ketkar, sir. This is a dichotomy, isn't it? You see, like Ketkar sir said, the basis of Modi's popularity is the fact that, his international image. So that's the basis of his popularity. Now, the fact is he going against, or he's seen going against, we have no proof to say that he has gone against, but he's seen going against BBC, is definitely going to have a huge impact on his international image, because not Washington Post is not going to keep quiet, Guardian is not going to keep quiet, other media channels across the globe is not going to keep quiet. So basically, hasn't he invited enemies, Singh sir?
Sujit Saab, let me tell you, we always say he's very popular internationally. Is it popularity or it is a sponsorship program? What I feel it is purely sponsored, purely paid by the Indian government to project him as a very popular leader. There is no, I mean, he will not, we will not get any answer on the RTI how much government of India has spent on his all these popular tours which he conducted during the first 2014-19. Having said that, let us also understand it is not only Modi who is very keen to have his international image perfect, but if India has to become 5 trillion, 30 trillion, or 10 trillion economy, without this international money, we cannot do this. Now, we need this money. Today, Mr. Adani needs the foreign fund most desperately, because the foreign funds, without the help of the foreign funds, he's more or less he's in a very dark, he is in a very tight spot. And Modi ji is going to have more trouble, because after Bharat Jodo Yatra, somehow people have started listening to Rahul Gandhi, or they are Rahul Gandhi is having a more sane voice, and people are taking Rahul Gandhi more seriously. And about 2 days back, another bad news for Modi ji is that Rahul Gandhi has been invited by the Cambridge to come as a fellow lecturer, which again puts Modi ji is very uncomfortable, because initially, if you remember, he wanted to say that I am a postgraduate in entire political science and things like that, which was not needed. We have great leaders without any degrees, but he somehow wanted this. I have a degree and things like that. And over a period of time, if this all is coming down, and people now know that his degree is questionable. Whatever people may say, his degree is questionable. So that is what I feel is Modi ji is more uncomfortable. That is what his followers are more uncomfortable, and that is why all this thing is happening. Raid on BBC and things like that is happening.
Ketkar Saab, then I want to ask you a question based on what Singh Saab said. See, let us be fair to Mr. Modi. Okay, see, Mr. Modi has made right noises in the international arena. He has gone, the Pfizer deal during COVID, his thoughts, his ideas, his decision was now proving right, because Pfizer is falling flat. So is the case with we sending aid to Syria. Now, the point that I'm trying to make here, sir, is he has been making the right noises in international arena. He has a lot of decisions that he took has been appreciated. So just saying that he is sponsoring it, would that be right? He is sponsoring his imagery. He is sponsoring so that his imagery is developed. Is that right, sir?
Well, so-called right noises are also part of the media image building. Yes, there are so-called right noises, but it's not difficult to have general right noises, like simple right noise that he is supposed to be having is that no country can solve its problem, or no global problem can be solved by war. The peace is the only thing, and therefore Russia and Ukraine must solve all the problems by peace. Now, if this man talks about peace is the only method of solving global problems, what is his record on Pakistan? With Pakistan, his record is that of completely aggressiveness. So I don't think he actually believes it. So the right noise itself is a part of media strategy. Point number two, all his so-called great rallies, whether in America or Australia or Malaysia or wherever, they were all primarily Dubai, all were primarily attended by the NRIs there, the diaspora there. Essentially, 80 to 85% of the audience was Indian, and organizers were Indian. If they were also supporting the so-called Americans or British or Dubai people, then the local media there would have covered it. Local media has not covered. Local media has not paid any great attention, even in Texas, Audi and all that. There was no local media coverage to Modi's rallies. So, and what Modi did, or Modi organized, and I know from many television people here, or private channels and government channels, that there used to be complete clear orders to cover his rallies abroad, to cover them here in all details and show them again and again. Show them again and again. So basically, to convince the Indian television viewers that he is so popular that his rallies are being attended by a large number of people. His rallies were attended by only the NRIs. Now, point number two, all these NRIs, or there are something like, something like 4 million or 5 million people in America alone, and America calls the shots. And in West Europe, again, there are some about 2 million. But these people are representatives of the Indian higher middle class. Their sons, their daughters, their son-in-law, daughters-in-law, friends, neighbors, all of them are either getting settled in America, studying in America, seeking green cards, seeking citizenship, and want to migrate to America. So the entire middle class dream for them, America is Makkah. Of their, dream here, material dream here is America. Now that material dream, America is celebrating Modi, and therefore the local middle class also supports Modi. Indian middle class fascination for Modi is governed and triggered by the media coverage abroad and primarily in the Western Europe. Now look at it, very interesting schizophrenia that the government is showing. Entire Modi supporting class, the middle class as well as the Modi supporting media, is sympathetic to Ukraine, is sympathetic to Zelensky, is sympathetic to US, and officially India is so-called neutral but showing sympathies with Russia because of course the oil question, the gas question, the energy question. So obviously the Modi supporting bureaucracy, Modi supporting external ministry bureaucrats, all of them say that we are practical, we are neutral, so we don't mind having friendship with Russia, but friendship with Russia is purely and simply commercial, based on energy. Whereas friendship with America, as Americans call or Indians call, or some of them call, that India-US is natural relationship. So the point of what you're saying, the right noises are not very difficult to make. And the right noises themselves are part of the image building. All this image building exercise as the most important aspect of politics started sometime in 1960s in America when the famous book, The Sailing of a President, became a Bible for majority of the politicians. How to win elections, how to create the correct image, how to make the right noises, and that is what Modi has mastered or Modi's handlers have mastered. And that's why all the templates or all the kind of plays that he reads, they are completely governed and written down by his PMO staff. So I think let us not be fooled by the so-called right noises. Right noises are not very difficult, whether in Davos or in United Nations.
Okay. So let's not be fooled by the right noises, that the Prime Minister makes, says Mr. Ketkar. Now, Singh Saab, I want to ask you a question. ये जो आपने बोला था, you had spoken about media under threat, and will the media therefore completely subdue to all of this and finish off from this country? Independent media, that is.
I mean, let me put it this way: that media is already subdued. It is already subdued. Electronic media and print media is already, and it is. There are reasons also. I'm not repeating it because the biggest ad is given by the government, and whosoever gives the ad will have some say in the editorial in the sense in the approach of that newspaper or that electronic media. Comparatively, social media has slightly a better independent voice, but I'm just adding to it what Mr. Ketkar said. There are certain goof-ups which Mr. Modi has done. Which foreign minister can allow his prime minister to go to America and say, "Abki baar Trump sarkar"? How you can align with a political candidate there? And look, the DNA of a political person, whether in America or in India or in any part of the world, is same. Now, if you have opposed me in some of my election, I always remember that. This is the DNA of any political person. So whatever Biden may say today, because of his compulsion as an head of America, he will never forget that what Mr. Modi has said. So this is one. And as far as the right noises are concerned, when you take Mr. Prasoon Joshi as a media person to interview in an international arena, the international press is not a fool. They know what Prasoon Joshi is and what questions Prasoon Joshi is asking. So I don't know who so all is their advisor, or they want to have an ecosystem in which only Modi happens. Or as a advice, someone should tell him, I mean, at that point of time, that you ask tough questions also, because it should look more genuine. It should look more, which is not happening. What Mr. Ketkar said, someone should tell Mr. Modi that he should not change at least 5, 6, 7 dresses a day. He should repeat dresses. He should, and that is why I will again say that Rahul Gandhi has an easier task to do. He will not change his. He will come with that T-shirt or a plain shirt. So it becomes easier for him to give a contrast and a choice to a average person, that look, there is someone who is changing his clothes 4 times a day, or 5 times a day, or 6 times a day, and there is another person who can change his clothes 5 times a day, but who is not changing.
I know I'm drifting from the, sorry to interrupt you. I'm drifting from the topic, but I just want to add that it is not that Congress is doing a great job with media. It is not that, because their handling of media during the Bharat Jodo was absolutely in shambles. They still think that they are the ruling party, and they still treat media like an unwanted element.
Let me the way I am looking at it. Let me make it very clear. The Congress media per se, headed by Mr. Jairam Ramesh, is doing a bad job. Mr. Jairam Ramesh, as the head of the media team, is doing a bad job. Let me admit it. But there are two parts. The BJP media in totality, their spokesperson and things like that, and then there is Mr. Modi himself as a leader. Now, here we have Congress in totality as a media cell, which is headed by Mr. Jairam Ramesh, doing a bad job. But Rahul Gandhi as a leader, how many press conferences he is doing? I mean, he has done during the Bharat Jodo Yatra. I feel purposely the interview given to that curly tails, it was with a purpose. He wanted to reach new audience. He wanted to address to the people who generally are not interested in politics. So what I am trying to say is, we are comparing Rahul Gandhi and Mr. Modi. When we are comparing Rahul Gandhi and Mr. Modi, there is a contrast is very clear. When we are comparing BJP and Congress, yes, you may say that BJP is more organized, is more effective as compared to Congress media cell, which is headed by Mr. Jairam Ramesh, and who is very arrogant. Who, the way he talks to media, the way he behaves himself. I mean, something is to be done by something Congress must do if they have to improve their image.
Sir, you have worked for so many publications. You've worked for so many media houses. You've worked for so many international media houses. Sir, one question I want to know from you is, what will be the backlash of this raid on BBC?
The backlash will be primarily distrust of the Modi government. And there will be a kind of fear psychosis generated in the media. But as you know, media may also have their egos and also their political lines, or at least their perceptions. So therefore, they will not take it lightly. But that does not mean that they will campaign against Modi, or they will work against Modi, or they will use all this BBC raid as anti-Modi election campaign. However, the credibility of the Modi government will substantially go down, not just go down, substantially go down, because across the world, the respect for media, the respect for BBC media is highest. And BBC not only has a TV channel, it has a large network, as Singh explained, global network. It also has BBC magazines. It has BBC even history magazine, BBC art and culture magazine. So BBC is a sort of an empire. In fact, BBC at cultural level has replaced the British Empire. And so BBC is a liberal, non-authoritative empire, and therefore I think the respect for the BBC will go up and respect for the government proportionately will go down. That is the only backlash it can have. But that doesn't mean that the backlash will be in form of campaign against Modi government at the time of election or even now. Because the media will try to remain objective and true to their real game.
I will also add what what how it is going to affect Mr. Modi, BJP, and India. I mean, these three things are related now. 1.4 billion people. The world respects India because we are the largest democracy and who have survived the emergency, and we have goods and bad of election process. We have survived. So if that election, that democracy is targeted by Mr. Modi somehow, I mean, he's not doing. He's not. We are not having elections in Kashmir. We are trying to have an election commission which appears to be not independent. If you are trying to have institutions like CBI, ED, the DRI, which are not independent, then the very basic of a democracy is questioned. And if you don't have a free press, if you don't have a right to ask questions, then this all democracy is questioned. So that is what I feel is that Mr. Modi has to realize. In terms of votes, yes, it is going to affect. I mean, I must say the what Modi ji image was about 3 years back or 2 years back. There's certainly we can now see a lesser strong Modi ji. A Modi ji not with 58 inch, 56 inch सीना 56 inch का सीने की जगह it's a contracted Modi ji, maybe a 28 inch सीना. So the image of Modi ji certainly is dented. There's no doubt about it.
Sir, there were a lot of scathing articles against the raid in Washington Post, in Guardian, and so many other publications. In fact, almost every other publication in the world. Will this continue?
Yeah, the so-called anti-Modi image will now remain as a template in most of the media because they have been seeing this happening. But at the same time, don't forget, on question of Adani, even New York Times has said it is unlikely to have negative effect on Modi's politics. The New York Times has very clearly said that. So, therefore, impact on political rule of Modi and image of Modi are two different things. Image of Modi was being manipulated for election purposes. That we will continue to do, but influencing the foreign media is extremely difficult. For instance, the Australian media could not be controlled by Modi's government when Australian media was writing against Modi's, Adani's scams in Australia. So I think media campaign against Modi may not be politically active, but media image of Modi and credibility and trust definitely has substantially gone down.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you so much, both of you all, to join. And it is indeed a pleasure, as always, to talk to you. Thank you so much.